Snow being a unique innovation to just becoming useless in the series, to Blover being demoted to a power-up, it's hard to believe that the coming plants were seen as once being loved, and we're going to find out what happens when loved plants turn to becoming hated. Starting with the most recent example, Blover. Blover grew its way onto the scene in 2009 with Plants vs Zombies 1, where it was introduced as a single-use instant plant that cost 100 sun. Being a single-use instant plant, there was two primary functions for the plant. Blowing away the fog was one, and also eliminating balloon zombies was the other. While being useful, Blover wasn't the only option for these abilities. For terms of fog removal, Lantern was also a competitor in this field where it would permanently remove it, while Blover just gave you a temporary removal of the fog for 24 seconds. Being both cheaper and instant use, Blover actually became a lot more viable for players, which they just overall preferred, especially since fog clearing was required for certain situations. And while for dealing with balloon zombies, Cactus was also the competition, but being Cactus, it was debatably the worst plant in the game. Blover became very limited after these fog levels. Actually more than limited, it became useless. When it became useful was actually post campaign, where it was actually useful in the survival levels. It was very useful in the survival mode, where the variety of levels, including the rooftops, and its usability to instantly remove them was really preferred by fans compared to other ways like the Cactus. But despite Blover's limitations, Blover's place in the original game was secured as a highly specialized but very effective plant. And in comes the sequel to Plants vs Zombies, Plants vs Zombies 2. Blover became even more powerful than anybody could imagine, and it got a cost reduction in sun. Also now getting the ability to blow away any airborne zombie, it became really useful in specifically a lot of the later levels where a lot of these airborne zombies got quite difficult to deal with. And it was actually used with Spring Bean, which allowed players to instantly eliminate multiple zombies, creating a very, very overpowered combo that eventually broke the game. And its dominance led to it being eventually nerfed in the game's competitive arena mode, and eventually removing its Spring Bean interaction. How does the plant go from being extremely useful for doing its job to becoming really overpowered to its job to becoming useless? So this is where we go to the third game in the series, Plants vs Zombies 3. Plants vs Zombies 3 arrived with its own entourage of terrible game decisions, and Blover was one of them. And Blover was demoted from a plant to simply becoming a power-up, only usable when a zombie gets near your house. But despite its fall, Blover remains one of the franchise's most memorable and one of the most unluckiest plants, forever freezing itself in time. Forever freezing itself onto this list, Snow. Like Blover, our first scene of seeing this plant was in 2009's Plants vs Zombies 1, and it was originally 175 sun, and it was a very dual purpose plant where it would offensively be dealing damage like a regular pea shooter, and also supportively it was slowing zombies from it being frozen peas. In the early game, Snow was quite useful, as slowing zombies made it easier for players to manage the huge waves of basic zombies for the time. But as the levels got progressively harder, the hordes got tougher and zombies emerged. Snow single target damage just simply became less effective than it once was, and was quickly overshadowed by Winter Melon in the later game. And a plant with area of effect, AoE damage, and chilling factors of the frozen plants could slow multiple zombies at once rather than just slowing one at once. And where we see a major change to this is Plants vs Zombies 2, where this plant went from free to premium. Snow made its long overdue return in 2013, but this time it was a premium plant that cost money, meaning that it could only be unlocked with real world money. This shift, part of the game's transition from PC to a free-to-play mobile model, was highly controversial around fans, but Snow sun cost was reduced to 150 from 175, making it a bit cheaper to use in game, but this role remained largely the same as in the first game. In the early stages of PvZ2, Snow was quite effective in the initial 3 worlds, but with fewer zombies like the barrel roller and pianist being immune to some of these chilling effects, the overall larger horde sizes in the waves of PvZ2, it created a lot of challenges for the Snow single target slowdown. This is where we see PopCap and EA have an idea spark. In 2021, they made a surprising decision to buff Snow significantly, breathing new life into the plant. Firstly, they gave Snow a 1 tile splash damage effect, allowing it to chill multiple targets at once, somewhat addressing its long-standing issue for only slowing down one individual zombies and had a 5% chance of instantly freezing them. It made a Snow Pea an overnight success. Yet where we see all these plants fail is Plants vs Zombies 3. Unfortunately, after the release of Plants vs Zombies 3, Snow Pea's resurgence didn't last long at all. PopCap decided to make the Snow Pea cost the exact same amount as the pea shooter while halving its damage output, which was a wild take. But while the Snow Pea retained its ability to slow down zombies, it took just longer to kill them, which was ineffective at doing what it was made to do. When you have a plant doing half the amount of damage and slowing them down, it just took double as long to kill. PvZ3 can be pointed at as the downfall of Snow Pea, but it has gone through its own roller coaster of a lifespan, and hopefully they can decide to bring it back and give it some type of buff. But bringing some heat to this list is going to have to be Jalapeno. Earning its way onto the scene, Jalapeno first appeared in the original PvZ game as a one-time use instant kill plant costing 125 suns. While the Jalapeno plant was exceptional for killing large groups of zombies like the Zombonis, who would be really difficult to encounter otherwise, it was really useful at burning and melting the ice trails of the Zombonis, gave it further utilization in especially the rooftop levels. Jalapeno being an exceptional plant had some of its limitations, especially being quite expensive for its single-use nature. For only attacking one lane, it was really expensive compared to some of the other ones where it hit multiple lanes, which would be a lot better for killing off hordes like the cherry bomb. It was amazing in adventure mode when you got into some emergency situations that you needed to quickly remove some zombies. And just like Snow Pea, Jalapeno faced a free to a premium comeback in PvZ2. Just like Snow Pea, it was locked behind a real-life paywall that you had to pay real cash for in the game. Remaining exactly the same as the original game, it was really nice to see that it still had its instant kill factors, so keeping its ability to melt ice, which came in really nice in the Frostbite caves. But as the game evolved and new levels, zombies and plants were added, Jalapeno just began to feel a bit stale, while new premium plants like Electric Pea offered more consistent damage across multiple lanes, making Jalapeno feel like a one-time useless appealing addition, which was something, a relic of time, and where all things go to hell to burn. Plants vs Zombies 3. Jalapeno returned, but was no longer the powerhouse it once was. Its single lane clear ability remained, but the mechanics of the games have switched heavily, unlike the previous games where Jalapeno could wipe out a lane regardless of zombie type, except for the giants and bosses obviously. PvZ introduced more complicated mechanics around the lane progression and wave timing, which made the Jalapeno immediate lane clearing a little less vital than before. PvZ going towards a new wave-based system where progression is determined by time rather than zombie damage, Jalapeno instant kill didn't affect the wave progression as much as it did in the earlier games, and it diminished its usefulness in long-term strategies where consistent repeated damage was more effective. The legacy of Jalapeno will forever be there in the PvZ franchise, being a very strong presence known for its impact on lane clearing and also just being an iconic character in this series and will never be forgotten. And if you want to see part 2, let me know below, and let me know if you change any of the selections I did choose, and tell me why. I'll see you in the next one.